Assalamu alaikum. Third year students, translation department. In this lecture, it is chapter 6, Morphology. Please stay home and safe. Basic points related to morphology. In many languages, what appear to be a single form actually turns out to contain a large number of elements. What do you mean by that? That a word in itself can be the smallest unit element in a sentence, or it could be consisting of two or more than two elements. For example, the word teacher, you see it? It consists of teach plus er plus s. Each one of these is going to be called word-like elements. معلمون باللغة العربية consists of معلم plus واو نون related to جمع المذكر السالم. The same معلمات consists of معلم plus تاء التأنيث plus ألف تاء to indicate جمع المؤنث السالم. Despite the differences between English and Arabic, these classify they're clearly to be there's a kind of similarity between them. That we have either a word could be the smallest unit of element or a word consisting of a number of elements. Perhaps a better way of looking at these things is to understand the number or the ways in which we are able to classify these words, and to as we are able to combine words into make a words, we should be able to analyze words to the smallest elements. Morphology. Classifying teacher into teach plus er plus s, activist into act IVE IST plus s, معلمات into معلم plus تاء التانيث plus at are example of investigating or analyzing larger elements, larger words into their smallest ones, and these smallest elements, and this is called, or this is the function of morphology. Morphology has been used to describe the types of investigation that analyze all those basic elements used in a language. And also morphology is defined as the process whereby the smallest elements of the word are reached, or it is the way we analyze or classify words into their smallest way. Okay. What we have been described earlier as elements like words is going to be called morphemes. So we have teachers consist of three morphemes: teacher plus er plus s, and activist consists of four morphemes: act plus iv plus ist, and the same for معلمات consists of three morphemes: معلم and تاء التانيث and alif ta. We can recognize that English words, so for example, talks, talker, talk, talking, all of them having the same root, the same base form, which is talk, and we have other elements added to it in order to form these words. All of these elements are going to be described as morphemes. So morphemes is defined as the minimal unit of meaning or grammatical function, or it is the smallest unit in a language. You see that we have seen that the morpheme can be of two types. It could be a unit of meaning or could be a grammatical function, and we are going to understand that later. What do you mean by grammatical function? It includes forms we add to the words in order to form or to make a change in the tense or to change in number. For example, we add S الشخص الثالث, third person singular s, or we add S plural for what? For changing from singular to plural, changing from singular from a present for singular and the present for plural. Renewed, for example, consists of one minimal unit of meaning, which is new, plus another unit of meaning, which is re, to mean again, and one unit of grammatical function, so ed. So from here, you need to identify what is meant by morphemes related to grammatical function and morpheme related to units of meaning. For example, the word terrorist has two units of meaning, which is tor and ist. Since ist we added to the word in order to form a person who does, and the plus one grammatical unit, which is plural s. Classification of morphemes. Morphemes classified into two basic forms, which is free morphemes and bound morphemes. And we are going to understand what do you mean by free morpheme and bound morpheme. Free morphemes are morphemes that can stand alone by themselves. Bound morphemes, they can't stand alone by themselves. Therefore, they are going to be attached, accompanied other morphemes in order to form words. Free morphemes are going to be classified into lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. Bound morphemes are going to be classified into inflections and derivations, or inflectional morphemes, derivational morphemes. And we know that derivational morphemes are in turn are going to be classified into prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes are additives. We add them to the beginning of the sentence, and suffixes are additives. We are adding them to the end of the words. Types of morphemes. Morphemes are of two types, free morphemes and bound morphemes. Free morphemes are those elements that can stand by themselves as single words. For example, new and talk. These are free morphemes. Okay. Bound morphemes are those forms that can't normally stand alone and are typically attached to other forms, to other morphemes. For example, REIST, EDS. So all of these are called bound morphemes. We can say that all prefixes and suffixes are bound morphemes, and all other words attached by prefixes and suffixes are going to be called the free morphemes. All affixes, you see, prefixes and suffixes in English are bound morphemes. The free morphemes can generally be identified as the set of separate English word forms, such as basics. So free morphemes are what? Are nouns, adverbs, adjectives, verbs, articles, conjunctions, subordinators. All of these are going to be called free morphemes. Why? Because they can stand alone. For example, the definite article, the and indefinite article, a and, since there is a possibility to put a space in a printing or in handwriting between the word and the next word. Stems. We said that there is a possibility of deriving a number of words from the word talk, like talks, talked, talker, talking, talked. So we are going to call talk here as a stem, and the others are additives. So you see here, when elements are used with bound morphemes attached to the basic word unit, is going to be called stem. In the two examples, we have unaddressed and carelessness. We have unaddressed. And in fact, the main word, the original word, the stem here is dress. Then we added ed, dressed, and then we added the prefix an. Also, we have care, then we have careless, and then we have carelessness. So care and dress are called the stem. Bound stems. There are a number of English words in which the elements treated as the stem is not in fact a free morpheme. So there is a possibility now to classify stems into free stems and bound stems. Free stems are those that when we derive the prefixes and suffixes from them, they are going to stand as a free morpheme. Bound stems that are not the opposite. When we derive or we take off the prefixes and suffixes from them, the result is not going to be free morpheme. They are not going to be used alone. For example, receive, reduce, repeat. Try to take off, delete, omit, re from the beginning of these words. So you have sieve and use and repeat. Have you ever seen these three forms? Never. We haven't used them alone. So these are called bound stems. And in contrast to talk, talked, talkers, talking, talked, when we derive re, er, we derived s, we derived ed, derived ing from these words, we still have the stem talk, and it can stand alone. Therefore, talk is a free stem, whereas these three forms, sieve, use, and peat, are called bound stems. So you should think of what is the difference, how can you distinguish between bound stems and the free stems. Types of free morphemes. Two types of free morphemes we have in English. We have lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. Lexical morphemes are the set of ordinary words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs that we think of them. And they have the possibility of reuse, in other words, by adding some prefixes or suffixes to them. For example, girl could be girls, man could be man, house could be houses, sad could be sadly, could be sadness, longer, yellowed, opened, etc. Of these forms, since they have the possibility of be enlarged by adding prefixes or suffixes to them, so they are called open class of words. In contrast, we have function was, we have prepositions, we have pronouns, we have conjunctions, we have articles. These are free morphemes, but there is no possibility of adding any prefixes or suffixes to them. Therefore, they are called the closed class of words. So, what is the difference between free lexical morphemes and functional morphemes? Free lexical morphemes are those elements, those free morphemes that we are able to enlarge them by adding suffixes or prefixes to them, whereas functional morphemes are free morphemes, but there is no possibility of adding any prefix or suffix to them. Types of bound morphemes. Two types of bound morphemes are stated. We have derivational morphemes and inflectional morphemes. Derivational morphemes are suffixes and prefixes. Those bound morphemes used to make new words. We add them. Those prefixes and suffixes, when we add them to free morphemes or to other free morphemes or bound morphemes or to free stems or bound stems, where we are going to have a new word. Could be a new word with this with another meaning, or could be a new word with the same meaning but from different word grammatical category. For example, when we add sad, and we have, for example, sadness, when we add NESS to the word, still we have the same. Still we have the same meaning, hazin and al-huzn, but there is a change of the grammatical category from adjective into noun. So these are called derivational morphemes, like we talked about care, and we said careless, careful, and careless, carelessness. All of these are called derivational morphemes. So if these are derivational morphemes, what are inflectional morphemes? Inflectional morphemes are not used to are those suffixes, only suffixes that we are going to use to add to the words, but they are not going to be used to produce new words, and they are not going to change the grammatical category of the words. This is the distinction between them. Number one, what are the differences between derivational morphemes and inflectional morphemes? When we add a prefix, derivational are prefixes, whereas inflectional are not the prefixes. Derivational are suffixes and inflectional are suffixes. But what is the difference between them? The difference is that when we add them, there is a possibility of changing, of having a new word or another grammatical category of the word. For inflectionals, no, the same category is going to be kept. In English, we have 8 inflectional morphemes, starting with S for possessive attached to gems. You see gem, and we have possessive S. We have a plural S, calls. We have third person singular S for studies, talks. ING for studying. We have ED for past tense. We have ED for past participle. Also, we have EN here, also possible. We have ER for comparative, and we have EST for superlative. So what is the difference between ER and more for comparative, EST and more for superlative? The difference is that ER and EST, these are called inflectional morphemes, whereas more and most are going to be called free morphemes. But they are what kind of free morphemes? They are called functional free morphemes. Why? Because we are not going to add any prefix or suffix to these two words. Sequence of morphemes. Do morphemes have a specific sequence, or it is a matter of haphazard, a matter of random use, a random sequence? No. First, we have derivational morphemes attached to the word, and then we have inflectional morphemes. Think of teachers. When we add, are we going to add S for plural before ER, or ER before S, ER before S? Why? Because ER is a derivational morpheme, whereas S is an inflectional morpheme. In your slide, you have the teachers' wildness shocked the girl's parents. You see that we have derivational morphemes comes before inflectional morphemes. Problems of morphological description. If we have S for plural, what about the other forms of a plural form? If we have ED for past tense, what are the other forms of past tense? Because we have regular forms of a plural and we have irregular forms. The same, we have regular forms for past tense and we have irregular forms of past tense. So how can this be solved in terms of morphology? To be solved this problem, we have what we call morphs and allomorphs. We are going to say that the plural form in general, in its abstract sense, it is called morpheme or it is called morphs. And the different forms we are going to use in order to make a plural or to make past tense, these are called allomorphs. Why in coincidence or in harmony what we have phones in phonology and we have allophones for the same sound. So we have morphs and we have allomorphs. Morphs are going to be called the abstract form of morphemes, and allomorphs are going to be the concrete forms of the morphemes. And this is clear. So what is a plural morpheme? Plural morpheme, in general, we have a plural means allomorph, but we have different forms to make a plural. And these are all of them are going to be called allomorphs. So what are the allomorphs of the plural morpheme? We have S regular for making plural. We have ES when the words are ending with a number of similar sounds like SX and CHSH. Basses, boxes, churches. We have sheep here. We are not going to change the form of the verb, but we are going to say sheep is for singular and sheep for the plural, and we are going to call this zero plural allomorph, zero plural allomorph. And then we have man, men, women, tooth, teeth, and etc. etc. These forms, and these are called vowel change plural allomorphs. So what are the possible allomorphs of the plural morpheme? We have 4 allomorphs of the plural morpheme. We have S plural, we have ES plural, we have zero plural for sheep, and we have vowel change for man and woman. What about past tense morpheme? Past tense morpheme, this is the allomorph, this is the abstract sense of the morpheme, but we have 4 different forms to make past tense in English, and these are called allomorphs of the past tense. And these are ed for regular form, when we want to make walked, talked, helped. We have ed for irregular to produce, for example, go, went. We have spend, spent. We have come, came. And we have ed for past tense to produce, especially be, when we have be. For example, was and were, since we have 2 forms, we are able to form 2 different forms of the past tense. And we have zero past tense when we have the same form used for present and for past, like put and cut. The same form is used. And that's all. Thank you very much.